Okay, today is May 2nd, 2016. Didn't get a chance to put out a video this weekend, so let me put one out today and also kind of recap what transpired today a little bit. Right now, let's take a look at the crude oil. Not much had changed based on the theme or the scenario that we're watching. If you notice that in the previous video, the last video that I put out, we're essentially looking for the crude oil possibly pull back here and then make a run and push it up to this 45.72. So instead of doing that, it actually pushed up to this 45.72, and it looks like right now it might try to pull back to retest this 41.70. So originally we were looking for the possibility of retesting here, and if it doesn't hold, then maybe come down to retest the 38.58 and then make a push to the 45.72. So as you can see, it actually came up to this 45.72. Matter of fact, it went up. The high of the last Friday was 46.78. So right now we're getting a little bit of a pullback. It does form a sort of a evening star type of a pattern. So any kind of pullback it shouldn't be a surprise to us, right? These are basically like a pullback type of pattern. So I'll be looking for a few days of pulling back on the oil, and then looking at the gold. Gold was a little bit surprising to me. I was thinking, that it will pull back a little bit because I'm expecting a stronger dollar with the Fed. Maybe was gonna be a little bit more hawkish on the announcement. There were no expectation in my part, that they were going to do any rate hike in April. Okay, it was basically the language and the tone of the announcement that was the key, and apparently it's sound a little bit more dovish than hawkish, and also with the lack of action from the BOJ, that kind of throw a little bit of a monkey wrench on this precious metal. So right now we are seeing gold sort of having a little bit of a topping candle here today. We got this little bit of a doji type of a candle, and wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a pullback, because I think we're at least going to pull back and retest these this level here somewhere around 1272. Okay, and if that this level doesn't hold, then we'll probably expect it to come back down and test this 1248.70. Okay, so basically maybe come down here and then maybe try to make another push. Right, and possibly get up to this 127 extension. That would be somewhere up the 1346, so it's close to the 1350 level, or 1345. Okay, so that's basically what we are looking at for the gold. And then looking at the 10-year bond, you can see that got a little bit of pullback, and we're expecting this to bounce up a little bit. And it didn't really bounce that much. It's tagging this 618. So right now we're probably looking at to pull back a little bit instead of pushing up. So in other words, that the expectation is to have higher yield. I think what the Fed or the central bank will try to force the dollar to go up a little bit. And that probably give a little bit of a perceive a higher rate in the future, and maybe the Fed will come out and increase the rhetoric on the potential. Okay, the potential of a June hike. Not necessarily it will, probably give that perception of that there's a increased potential of a rate hike, or the increased possibility of a rate hike in June, and that probably will help push the dollar up a little bit, and that would give a little bit of a relief on the yen, because the Japanese yen been kind of strong, okay, since the lack of extra stimulus being put forth by the BOJ last week, and that gonna put a lot of pressure on the dollar. On the weak dollar there, then gonna create a little bit of havoc in the Japanese economy. So they probably will do something to indirectly intervene to push the dollar up a little bit without really increasing any sort of a real interest rate hike. Okay, so basically that's my take on that. Whether it's going to do that or not, well, who knows, right? So same thing here with the 30-year bond. We're expecting it's probably going to push down a little bit. Maybe get down to this level here. If it's not, can hold that level, maybe push it down to this 159. So we essentially are looking for this thing to kind of, kind of chop around in this area before we make another push up, and maybe that will be a push as the the next FOMC meeting approaches. Okay. And looking at the dollar, you can see that the dollar really got clobbered, right, since last week. And you can see, and we did, my expectation was that we're going to get a little bit of a push up here, right, with the hawkish language from the Fed, which did not materialize. Then continuation of the weak dollar, right? So instead of coming back up here before it kind of falter, it just it just say heck with it. We're just going to dump it. So right now, essentially you're looking at see right now it's basically holding at this level here. So if we don't get a bounce, if we don't see a dollar getting a bounce up here, down here, we'll probably see this thing maybe come down to this 91.495, this level here. So we have to kind of keep an eye on this dollar. When the dollar get too weak, then it's not good. Hey? But then it will cause the commodity prices to go up. And I think, although the Fed and everybody want to see that inflation target of 2%, but they do not want it to, spiral or basically shoot up, instantaneously and that kind of stuff, and have inflation running away. Because once the dollar get out of control, then it's going to have a heck of a time to, control that, those commodity prices and inflation. Okay, so anyway, let's take a look at the index future, the YM. This is basically the Dow Jones Industrial. We're essentially looking for this thing to continue to pull back into the 17,418, 17,418 to 17,175. So although we got a nice little bounce here today, but my expectation is that it's continue to come back and test these levels before get another push and test the old high, the old all-time high, and possibly put in a new all-time high. Right. And then the ES, the E-mini, same thing. You see that it came down into the zone here, got a nice bounce here. So if it get another bounce, maybe it come up here and attack it. I still expect it to come back down, and at least come and test this 2032, if not coming back down to test this 2011. Okay. So, but again, the expectation is that we get a little bit of a pullback and then we, push up again. Okay. And then here's the NQ, that's the NASDAQ future. You can see that with some of the tech earning, like Apple and Twitter, it's really, especially Apple, I think it kind of dragged this. Remember I was saying that, we expect this thing to pull back, and how deep this thing going to pull back will be dependent on the earning from some of the large cap tech companies such as Apple. Now, although Facebook, we'll take a look at Facebook later, that Facebook really have good earning, and their stock really shot up, and so did Amazon. But the Apple, the weighting on the from Apple on the S&P 500 really kind of take this thing down. Okay, so right now we're looking at this maybe chop around a little bit. Okay, and then maybe see if we could consolidate here and get another push back up. So, but if it's not, then we're probably looking at level down here somewhere at this 4082. So we have to kind of keep an eye on that. So is this the so we got we got some level here at 4082, okay, or 4088, somewhere around this 4082 here, okay. And then the Russell 2000 future. So you can see that the Russell also start coming back down, and the expectation is also to see this thing come back in to the zone here and test for some sort of support before we get another push up, back up into this zone and possibly get up to this 1209. Okay, so right now again we probably see a little bit more downside in the near term, to get it back down here to this 1109 to this 1086. Okay, and if we go and look at the cash index on the Dow Jones, so expectation is 17,541 to the 17,116. Okay, if it's going to push up, probably going to come into the resistance of this 18,188 again. All right. So in the S&P 500 cash index, okay, so the expectation is 2048 to 2433, and that can hold, probably come back and test this 2020. Okay. Then the NASDAQ 100 is into the zone, so we'll probably still see it to come down and test this 4286. If it can't hold that, we're basically looking at this 4200, then probably this 4087, which is equivalent to that 4082 on the future. Right. Then the Russell 2000, okay, again we're basically looking for Russell 2000 to pull back into this 1108 and then possibly dip down here to this 1090. Okay. So if we also take a look at the see some of the ETF, let me get that open up. So if we take a look at the SPY, alright, we're basically looking for a pullback. Well, last week it did pull back to this into this zone between 205.77 and 203.87. I do expect it to come down and retest this 203.87 and possibly get down to test this 202.89. But so I do expect this today, after today's little bounce, and maybe a little bit of a follow through tomorrow. But I do expect it to continue to pull back down into the zone. If it continues to push up, then essentially you probably see the next level of resistance back at this 209.67, and the target is 211. Okay, but right now I'm sort of watching for the possibility of this thing coming back down to this 203.87, then get a push up. Right? I think that will probably provide a little bit more of a strength to get up and possibly go back and test that May of last year all-time high. Okay. And then we'll look at the diamond. We're essentially looking for this to come back down to this 175.35 and into the zone that between that 175 to the 172 level. Okay. So right now it seems to be holding up at this 177.68, but I do expect this thing to come back down. Right. And then as we look at the Q, alright, the Q is into the zone. Okay, we'll probably chop around here and then maybe get down and test these level here, this 103, and then possibly this 99. Okay, if there's continued deterioration of some of the techs, the high-tech stock, because also the other thing is I believe there's still a few semiconductor company is scheduled to report this week, so we gotta watch that. So semiconductor seems to be a little bit weak, I believe. And especially when Intel kind of let the march to lower prices. So we could see some of the semiconductor might have a little bit of an influence in pulling this the Q down a little bit more. Okay. And here's the IWM, the Russell 2000 ETF, and we're essentially looking at this 110.61 down to this 103, this 108.58, okay, into the zone here. Okay, so let's take a look at the stock. Start off with Apple. You see Apple on this earning gap. Okay, we're essentially looking for maybe Apple come down to this 100 level, 101 level. But I guess it really got clobbered after the earning, and right now essentially it is testing this 92.11, this pivot low here. Okay, the other thing to pay attention to, okay, this could be a $50 stock if something bad has happened to the stock here. Okay, so essentially what we have here, right, is a declining triangle. All right, and if we take the major move here, right, okay, right, and then take this down, then essentially, oops, essentially what we have is this guy here, right, down to 49.67. Okay, so and that's 100% major move from this distance to here. And if it's 80, let's get down to somewhere around $58 level. So it could be a 50 some odd dollar stock, if it break this level here, this 92.11. Okay, of course it could do a little bit of a shake and bake and maybe trap some of the short here and then bounce back up. So, but just be careful with Apple. I think Apple is a little bit, in trouble right now. So I just kind of have to keep an eye on that and don't get too crazy with it, I guess. So, and Facebook really blew out their earning. But again, you could see that it came up to this trend line here. And if I put this, let me put this on a weekly chart, you can see there's a nice price channel here. And essentially, it's pumping up on this upper channel, right? Okay, so wouldn't be surprised that we might get a little bit of a consolidation and maybe get it come down and tag this channel. So it could be maybe down at the 100 or 110, somewhere around there, 105, right? So kind of keep an eye on that, for the possibility of this retracement come in and probably fill this gap here over time. Okay, unless it could come up and break out of this channel, and then we got another thing to worry about, right? It could be a little bit of a euphoric blowout. So just have to keep an eye on Facebook. I think it's getting a little bit close to a major resistance here. If it's not already hit the major resistance and starting a little bit of a pullback, it'd be good if it pull back, slowly, right? Kind of over time, then let this trend line kind of catch up, right? And then get a next leg bounce up. Okay, so just be careful on Facebook. I wouldn't be chasing after it if you're not long in this stock right now. If you're long, just kind of throw the stop, protect some of the profit. I mean, had a heck of a run. Right? And here's Amazon. Let me do this here. Okay, so Amazon, it booked out and exceeded the range that the market was pricing in. But on Friday it did, kind of come back into that range a little bit. So it's got a little bit of a channel here hitting this, but here's the bigger channel that I drew in here. All right, so the upside here is for Amazon to possibly get up to this level here. Okay, so this upper channel here. All right, and that probably somewhere around the 750 area. Okay, so put this back. Okay, so I think the first level of potential resistance is the previous high here, which would be somewhere around 695. Okay, if it could take that out, then essentially you're looking at this 750, right? This upper trend line here for Amazon. If it playing to this channel here, let's say it's trending on this channel, then most likely it probably will try to work its way back down here and fill this gap, and then get a bounce. So essentially it could be doing a little bit of this here. Okay. Work itself up to that channel, right? It could do this, right? So it could do a little bit of a pullback and then come up. Okay. Yeah, technical analysis is all about putting up a possibility, not necessarily to saying that's what it will do, or just putting up some scenario to kind of keep us alert on what to pay attention to, and then see which what scenario is playing out, and then we could act accordingly, right? Okay, because nobody have a crystal ball to say it will do this. All we could say is that it could. It doesn't necessarily mean it will. It's just it could. Okay. So here's Google, and again, on the earning gap here, just book this trend line, and right now trying to find support here at the 700 mark. Remember back here we're saying that it has to hold 700. So once again, it's back to the 700 level. If we hold the 7 and then push it back up above this trend line, get up to the 752, then they have a good chance of getting back and retest this high. Because it could be, if you look at it, this could be like a trading band, right? This level between 700 and this 800 level, right? Close to that 800 level. Okay, so if it can't hold this level here, then the chances are it's going to come down and retest this 673. And if it break through that 673, then we're essentially looking for it to come down to somewhere around this trend line here, this long-term trend line, right? And then Tesla. We got Tesla here that we're expecting a pullback, and right now it could be a flag, right? It could be a little bit of a bull flag. Now Tesla is scheduled to report earnings in a couple of days, so so it could come down here and then push this up. So essentially we got a little bit of a bull flag here, right, with a major move up in the some ridiculous territory or something. Right. Now if it doesn't hold this trend line and then it breaks down, then that's a different issue now, right? So so then we take a look at this right here, and you can see it could be a some sort of a topping pattern that breaking out of this trading band, right? Okay, all right. So if it come down and maybe it come back down to this level here, somewhere around this 160, 170 level. So if we break this level here, then that's going to be, pretty damaging to the chart. Right. So, right. So what we want to see is have this thing as flag and then break out of this channel, this trading band, we could say. Right. But if it doesn't, let's say it break down here, then chances are it might come down and test this level here, and then it could get down to somewhere here. Okay, then Netflix, right? Netflix is also pulling back a bit, right? Ever since the earning, right, gap down. So right now I try to bounce, and if we could get back up to this 97, I think it's still going to come down. I think it's going to come down to this 85 level here. Okay. All right. So got to be careful, because you could also see that there's a possibility of setting up a sort of head and shoulder pattern, right? Some sort of topping pattern. If this thing breaks over here, right, then you can see that I have the Fibonacci retracement line for a major move. So if we thinking, talking about this 100% retracement, then wow, I didn't even realize it would be down at the 37 level. So maybe we should change that and see what it looked like if it go to 80%. Okay. So let's say 1.8. Okay, so still 46.85. So it kind of got to be careful watching this, this 85 mark here. If it break to this 85, now not necessarily every type of, every time that we see a head and shoulder that it will play out, to the full degree of major move and everything. It's just that the head and shoulder is, one of the pattern that a lot of people was watching. So, and this could be a lot of head fake too. So just be careful. And then finally, we got Twitter. Right, we're talking about the earning, and I was saying that in the last video, if you're an investor on Twitter, you better have the stomach to withstand another test of this level here, the possibility of testing the 1391. Well, it's getting close. It's down here at this $14 area. Okay, so wouldn't be surprised that it will get close and test this. If it breaks through this level here, chances are it's going to come down to somewhere around this $12 level. This trend line here. Essentially, it's like a little bit of a wedge. I think that's basically what I got. Right. Yeah. So you can see here. Right. So. Right. So essentially coming down here. Okay. hopefully one of these days it will come up and break this level, right? But I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. So anyway, hopefully that kind of give you a little bit of a recap and what to pay attention to. The thing is, nothing had really changed in terms of the market internal and the breadth and that kind of stuff. So those are still relatively strong or improving. So I don't anticipate that we will get a major sell-off. We might get a little bit of a spook, to shake some of the weekend and trap some of the new bear, before it head back up. So and maybe the next the upward move will set up the top. Who knows, right? But right now it doesn't seem like the market is ready to top yet, and certainly the top has not been put in, by any stretch of imagination. By looking at if anybody looking at price level or the market internal. Okay, so good luck for the on your trading for the rest of the week.